Good morning. This is GBS Television Channel 3, your community channel in Titusville. It is 7 o'clock and we're down to doing something that we have known for a couple of months we were going to have to do. Something we've been looking forward to with anticipation and downright fear. One of those things that we all know we're going to have to face sooner or later. And many people will say there's two certainties in life, death and taxes. For me, it was death, taxes, and this broadcast. The Titusville Herald quoted me this morning. Josh Sterling, by the way, did an excellent job with the article that he wrote. Josh quoted me this morning as saying that this has been an emotional couple or 3 weeks, and that is an understatement. It has been incredibly emotional, kind of a roller coaster up and down. We have had friends and neighbors that we've heard from, people that we haven't heard from in many years, and we've heard from them over the last few weeks. In case you're not aware of exactly what is happening here, our contract with Armstrong Cable expires tonight at midnight. We were informed back in June that that contract was not going to be renewed and was not going to be extended. At the time, we asked to have it extended actually until the 10th of March of 2017, which would be the 50th anniversary of my beginning in the broadcast industry. And I told them then, I said, you take me until the 10th of March, and on the 11th of March, somebody else is going to have to be here because I'm gone. And that was turned down. We then said, let us stay until the end of the year because we have several clients that pay us a year in advance. And if I can stay until the end of the year, we'll be able to clean up those contracts and walk away not owing anybody any money. That also was turned down. We then made an offer, in writing this time, to move to another channel. Let me know what you want, lease money and so on, to move to another channel. And we never even got a response to that. We made that offer and request on the 7th of June, and we never even got a response to that. I'm fascinated in today's Herald, the Armstrong is quoted as saying it's in the hands of the attorneys, and when the attorneys got involved, I didn't know anything about it because, well, my attorney never got involved. But anyways, it is what it is, and we're done as of the end of this broadcast today. So people have been asking, what does that mean to us here in Titusville? And I said, well, it's really quite simple. If you want to see the kids out at Hightown or Main Street or Pleasantville elementary schools with their concerts and so on, it's not going to happen. If you're interested in the kids in the high school with the band concert, the choral concerts, if you're interested in rocket football, not going to happen. If you want to turn on your TV in the morning and catch the weather and the news or find out whether or not school's been canceled, it's not going to happen. On the other hand, if you just can't wait for the next episode of Dog the Bounty Hunter, if you can't wait for the World Poker Tour, Naked and Afraid on Sunday nights, or that monument to integrity and high integrity and high intelligence, Duck Dynasty, you're covered. You're going to be able to watch that anytime you want to. This all started actually 20 years ago next month. And we've got some people sitting in the next room from here who were very much responsible for that. On a hot August day, a guy by the name of Ray Salowitz walked around the corner of my house. I was mowing the grass out back. It was a horribly hot day. I was sweat and grass from top to bottom. Ray walked around the corner of my house, wanted to know if I was interested in a job. Well, we were willing to sit down and talk, and we've all heard all the things about how to put your best foot forward. You're interviewing for a job. You want to talk about putting your worst foot forward. I don't think I even had a shirt on, and I was sitting there forming a pool of sweat under me, and Ray and I talked, and when the conversation was over, I had a job. Drake Printing at that time had been assigned the management responsibilities for a company called the Advantage Network. The Advantage Network in those days was a wholly owned subsidiary of whatever cable company we were dealing with in those days. I've been through 5 of them. Ray and Jane had told the cable company that they would take over the management responsibilities on the condition that they could hire me to run it for them. At that time, as far as I was concerned, I was taking that job until a real job came along. And we had no idea at the time what we were beginning to create. The entire TV station at that time was an old desktop type computer that was sitting on an egg crate in the corner of a 10 by 10 head-in building. That was it. In fact, in order to work the keyboard, you had to pick it up off the floor and plug it in because the cable wasn't long enough to go to the floor and there was nothing to set it on there. So you had to hold the keyboard here and punch it here and watch a TV monitor through the other equipment, through the cracks in between pieces of equipment. That's where we started. Within a few weeks, I decided, let's see if we can put video on the air. In those days, it hadn't been done. So we did some experimenting and we put video on the air. The first thing we started doing was rocket football. At the time, the janitors at the Titusville School District built me a platform inside one of the light standards so I could stand up there and shoot it. We didn't even have a tripod in those days, and just shoot the game. And the only thing you saw for a commercial was slides that came up during the timeouts. That's all you saw was a slide that came up that said, you know, John Smith used cars or whatever. That was it. We were heroes for doing that. The Rockets were on television. Well, the next year, maybe the year after that, I don't remember now, we decided to actually try to do play-by-play. And we sat down, and several of us, including Rob Seib, who was a cameraman, and Brian DeFonso, and we went to an elementary basketball game up at the CAC and said, if we can do a play-by-play with this, we can do it with anything, and it worked. We found out we could make it work. So the next year, we figured out a way to do not only the slides for commercials, but actually put a voice behind it. The voice was simply a radio commercial that we recorded on a we didn't even, CDs didn't exist in those days, on a cassette, on a boom box, and we were holding a microphone down to it. That's how we did the commercials in those days. And it just kind of advanced from there. We became more and more sophisticated. New equipment came out. We became more learned on it. As time went on, like I said, we were heroes for putting the Rockets on TV. We figured out a way to do the audio live. In other words, you could pop on your TV set on Channel 3 any night and hear the Rocket game. And again, we were heroes. The Rockets were running live. Several years later, we had an offer from Armstrong. What happens if we run a dedicated line from Carter Field to here? Well, we wrote the check. They ran a line. It's still there. It starts at Carter Field, ends about 4 feet to my left. And we could put the Rockets on live every Friday night when they were at home. And we were, again, heroes to everyone except the school district. And they insisted that we were killing their gate. People were staying home and watching TV instead of coming out and buying a ticket and spending money at the concession stand and so on. So for the last 4 years, we have been paying $1,000 a year to the school district for the privilege of doing Rocket football. We also did the concerts. We've been to the ECLC. I don't have to tell you people about it. And people have said, you put in a lot of hours. And I said, it's fun. It is just so much fun. People don't understand how much fun it can be to do this for a living and what a privilege it has been to sit here year after year. Somebody said to me once, what a concept you came up with in the morning. You know, the people, the barking dogs and everything else that's going on around town. It's a concept nobody else has ever done. I said, no, this is not my concept. This is what Tim Nelson taught me how to do in March of 1967. The only thing I changed was I put a camera in front of it. It's not my concept. It's not my idea. This is what Tim Nelson taught me how to do 46 or 7 years ago. Tim's comment used to be local names, and local names. And that's exactly what we've always tried to do, was give you the local names. We've had a concept of being just Titusville. I told somebody one time, I don't care what's going on in Erie. I don't care what's going on in Harrisburg, New York, don't care, and Washington, D.C., I really could care less about that. I'll worry about NBC and CBS and ABC and CNN and all the rest of them. They can tell you about all of that. I'll tell you about who got picked up for speeding down on Main Street last night. We've been Titusville, nothing more, nothing less. That's all we ever wanted to be. When you get to this point, you look back over the period of time, 20 years of doing this, almost 47 years in the broadcast business, and it's like it goes by in a flash. And you start thinking about all the people that you need to thank, and you know you're going to leave a bunch of them out. When I started at the radio station in March of 1967, I think I'm the only person left of the entire entourage of people that worked there at the time. People like Tim Nelson, John Litzinger, Jim Snyder, Bob Buchan, Bob Sauber, Roy McIntyre, Paul Burak, Hugh Downer, The list goes on and on. They're all gone. And myself and Bob Scott, who is up in Rochester, New York now, are the only two that are left out of that entire bunch. But those are the people who trained me initially. They're the people who taught me how to do this. Jim Snyder, as an example, used to have sayings that I try to live by now. He used to say, let it be kids and let it be a game. That's all they are. They're kids and it's a game. Leave it at that. The big one that he used to always say is, if it ain't fun, it ain't worth doing. Well, we've had a lot of fun over the last 47 years. When you start thanking people, you look around to news contacts and police department, fire department, and city hall, and Shady House, and the list goes on. And I sat down the other day and I tried to come up with kind of a list of how many police chiefs I've been through, how many fire chiefs, mayors, members of city council, and it's just too many to remember. And the number of people who were always there with information, and in many cases willing to talk off the record. Those are the people that, without them, this couldn't happen. There wouldn't be anything for me to tell you. Without the sponsors, they're the people who are my cue cards here. This is going to look like scribbles to you. These are my Bibles. These are the names I've been reading for all these years. The people that write the checks on the 10th day of every month that keep us going. I've had people say, how do you know people are watching you? And I said, these people keep writing checks. And they don't keep writing checks if their cash register is not ringing, if we're not getting results for them. It's our responsibility to ring their cash register. We can't do that. We're done. It's that pure and simple. Needless to say to the viewers, the people who have been there every morning. I have an email here today from a listener that said, I've never met you. I don't know you personally, but you've been my friend for 18 years. The outpouring that we've had over the last 2 months has been overwhelming. And it's been fascinating to kind of look at the way different people have reacted. We've had cards and letters and emails and phone calls and personal visits from people. We had somebody come through the door last week, brought me a peanut butter cream pie. I tried to convince my Janie that I made it in the microwave in the kitchen here, and she didn't buy that one. By the way, we also, with all the well-wishing we had one person that called to say good riddance. And we had one the other day that called to inform me in no uncertain terms that as of August 1st, Titusville would be a better place to live because we'd be gone. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. What I call my Route 408 church, the Community Bible Church out on Route 408, when they were informed that they would be taken off the air and we'd be done, their first concern was for us. What's going to happen to you? Their second concern was for the people that watch them on the air that were not going to be able to get their TV service or their church service anymore. The United Methodist Church, their first concern was for their cameraman. What's going to happen to him? And I said, well, he's going to lose $1,000 a year or better. Their second concern was for the people, the shut-ins, the elderly, and so on, particularly in the wintertime, that have a difficult time getting out and being able to get to church. The First Presbyterian Church in Titusville had but one question: how soon can we get our money back? And about 3 days later, we had a call from their attorney asking us the same question. Checks in the mail. The viewers are the people who make it run. Without them, none of the rest of us means anything. And the people that would stop us on the street and compliment us and critique us and criticize us and so on, it goes on and on. And they are the people that really are the very backbone of anything. I don't care if it's GBS Television in Titusville or if it's NBC, CBS, CNN, any of the rest of them. Without the viewers, none of the rest of it means anything. To the family, and these are the people, and I'm actually going back into my radio days now. Keep in mind, my daughter made the comment to me the other day. She says, I just grew up with a father that was in the public eye and a father that had other responsibilities. This would be, I think, 39 years this year if we were at a Christmas Eve concert. For 39 years in a row, we have not been home on Christmas Eve. We've been broadcasting someplace, usually midnight mass. We did it for 30 some odd years at St. Titus Church. One of the priests, Father Davis, who is still a good friend to this day, made the comment one time that on Christmas Eve at midnight mass, the only person in the room that had seniority on me was God. And I think he had a point. But it's always been fun. It's what I did. It was just my being. It's the way I not only made my living, but in this day and age, I say, this is the way I make the money I spoil my grandchildren with. Finally, to my Janie, when we started this, underline the word we. We maxed out all the credit cards, emptied the penny jars, and all of that. Even with that, and keep in mind, we weren't married yet at the time. For what seemed like forever in those days, she fed me. Every dime that came in went back into the business, and there weren't very many dimes in those days. Somewhere in that period, I got to thinking, Jim, you dang fool, you might want to marry this one. And so, for once, I made the right decision. And it's been a ride. She has put up with more getting up in the middle of the night to chase fire trucks into wherever we were going. She has sat through more meetings, more evenings, more wondering what was going to happen here. Football games, basketball games, you name it. But she's always been right beside me. I've always said she's my number one fan and my biggest critic, all rolled up into one. She's the one that props me up when I get down a little bit, and she's also the one that's not afraid to knock the pins out from under me when I get a little too full of myself. And so you come down to what has to be said. And I know we've got a whole gang of people just a few feet away from me who are sitting in the next room watching the monitor in there. And I know Janie's in amongst them. If you can work your way through people, come in here, baby. Is she over there? Honey, come here. Can you come in here? This has been an emotional ride. But today, we wind it up. One more time, okay? One more time. It's been fun. The Herald quoted me properly this morning when they quoted me as saying, I've never worked for a living in my life, and I have no intention of starting now. Because of you people, I can say that. So for one last time, good morning, Titusville.